Hi everyone, I'm here at work at Gold's Gym waiting for a client, and I was reviewing my goals for today and my goals for the year really. 2019 is in full swing. It's January 10th, 2019. What does that mean to you? What does your 2019 consist of? What do you have to get done? For me, I look at the last 4 years from 2014 to 2018, and I really saw a big part of my life in those 4 years was about healing, introspective search, whether it was through yoga and meditation, the studying of childhood wounds, doing what's called the inner work. Some people say, do the fucking work, right? And so you could even say, like, for example, did you know that at, let's just say around 30 to 35, in that age range there, that people will typically feel some type of existential depression. And this depression comes from the things that worked in the first part of life no longer work, right? Let's go through some examples of what that might mean. Well, think about your teenage years, right? What worked in high school, for example? So many had interests. Those interests were typically driven by markets and trends and things that were cliquish on some level. For some people, that could have been Miley Cyrus. For some people, that could have been skating or being in the band and things like that. And so that can really help us explore a big part of who we are. Right? In other words, if you're in the band, right, you were in a marching band, then a big part of your life was being a musical person. And that likely is still very important to you. There's still parts of your life that are ignited by being a musical person. That's a pretty good idea, right? That you can be excited by music and stuff like that. So in any case, I was just saying hi to somebody here. So going back to what we're saying is, now as you grow up, you now are no longer part, let's say, going back to our example, band. Yeah, sorry for the interruption. Band, right? Let's just say you're 24, 25 now. You're no longer 17, 18 in the marching band, and you now have to have a different identity. Maybe it's you're now a doctor. Maybe you're going to med school. And so there's a different part of you that you're accessing, awakening, developing. And with that, maybe the way that you treated a relationship in high school is different. So now the relationship aspect of your life, which your boyfriend and girlfriend part, is now needing more attention. And maybe they are going through their own type of dance with their changes and shifts, right? So as they go through their shifts and growth, whether it's establishing what their role is in their gender, whether it's to be a man or a woman, right? And what that means for them, and establishing a family, buying a house, renting a house, having kids, not having kids. As you can see, there's far more complexities that occur, that the identities that we formed as kids are no longer going to serve us to the same extent they did at 14, 15 years old, 16, 17 years old. And this is where you'd say, for a while though, they can. In other words, if, for example, when you were 21, 22, you drank alcohol and that's how you kind of cope with your difficulty. Let's just say you get to 28, 29, and the world around you becomes more competitive. People around you become wiser. So now those same mechanisms that you used to cope with pain or drown in your sorrow are no longer working for you. They actually regress you. And so you find yourself dealing with the stuff that you were avoiding. It could be, sadness that your parents are not together, a sadness, a lack of connection with your family, that the drink helped you sort of avoid that pain. Now, I don't want to get long-winded there. I hope that you see the correlation. In other words, these adaptive adolescent behaviors, as you become an adult, become less viable, less powerful, and they in a way start regressing you. And so now you're faced to grow up and maybe deal with these inner demons, these inner pains, and that can lead to a type of depression. That's sort of a rough synopsis of how it works. And ultimately to develop, that's where you can say the last 4 years have been a spiritual quest for me. I'll give you some examples of what I went through. Like, let's just say I found myself, I would like the infatuation process of being in a relationship, being infatuated with somebody, being like romantically thinking about them, listening to songs about them. And that sort of helped me feel alive on some level, right? And that is part of the juicy part of life. It's hard to deny that is. But let's just say as your goals grow, like I wear this ring because I plan to be at least ruby with Advocare, right? That's like 2 or 3 leadership pins up. Okay, well, that's a goal, right? There's my goal. Well, you know, a lot of my focus has to be in developing the organization. So in a way, I have to fall in love with that process. And if my mind is caught up in infatuation or dating or trying to love that, like being a love addict, like that is okay as a teenager, right? But as you grow, you can't be a love addict anymore. You can't just want to go through the cycle of getting to know someone, the highs, the good times, and escape through that relationship. You now have to have a deep relationship with your goals, the life around you, your purpose, the legacy you want to leave. And these already are like adult level concepts, right? Like, let's just say if you're like 21, right? It's going to be challenging more so for you to know the legacy you truly want, because, you know, there's so much, like there's a lot of booty pics on Instagram, for example, where this is Instagram TV. It's going to be difficult for you to just like zone that out as much as someone that's been through there, done that. It's just going to be harder. Now, someone that's been there, done that, it has less appeal, not because it isn't appealing or sexy or it doesn't have the same chemical response or physical response, or there is not that those wirings occur in all humans. We all have a reptilian brain or an animal response. More specifically, the other parts of the mind have been developed, which is the inner work, the inner growth, which is to what's really important to me. Like making this video here, that's more important to me than, let's just say, surfing Instagram and looking at booty pics. Whereas in, let's just say if I were to go 10 years back, that the booty pics would have been more interesting than making a video like this. Or 15 years back, the booty pics would have been more interesting to me than making a video like this, talking about inner growth and the spiritual quest and legacy. I hope that makes some sense. So you start seeing the difference in that. And you might think to yourself, this guy's got to be joking. Well, to be completely honest, of course I enjoy a few booty pics, yet it's nowhere near where, let's say if I go 15 years ago, the level of interest it would have been then. So let's say level of interest then, maybe 9 or 10. And now level of interest may be like a 1 or a 2. So that, and now making content, reaching out to an international audience, level of interest, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? And growing, building an Advocare business, huge, all right? Selling supplements, helping people get more shape, more fitness. Those are the things that are more important to me now. So I hope that makes some sense. This is Jacob Adams. Want to make my post here on Instagram TV, talking about how change happens, growth happens. And if it's done right, you start identifying things like purpose, legacy, your truest work, your truest ideal self. And those become where your focus unapologetically immerses itself into. And the more that is done without apology, with complete conviction, the more clear and the more results you will have in your life. All right, this is Jacob Adams. We'll see you next time. Bye.